Good morning, guys.
Afternoon.
Oh, jeez. It's that late night that we had last night still. Good afternoon. Thanks for the correction. Happy New Year for all of you that kind of celebrate and see these things through. And I hope you lot had a blessed evening, morning, and afternoon.
Yeah. Like, I normally say grand rising, so it's grand afternoon, I guess. But so thank you so much, guys, for been listening to the whole series. It's been 7 days of live streams with amazing and phenomenally inspirational people, and taking their time out from time with their families and their personal stuff to come and speak with us, yourselves, us, and share some wisdoms and some realities and positivities given the really tough year that we've had to endure. It's the 1st of January. Like it's for many of us an opportunity for new beginnings. It's hopefully we were able to do the things that we are supposed to do. And just thank you for being with us up to this point. I'll be fair, right? I wasn't quite sure how I was going to quite manage doing this, but we've done it. And it wouldn't have been the way it has been without you guys. But before we go into introducing our last group of guests, I wanted to mention our giveaway competition. And sorry, I can't even get into the details for us to share with you. So our giveaway has 3 prizes. First prize is a set of 2 free children's cooking lessons. It's targeted at age 8+ with Tasteful Munch, a lovely Tasteful Munch. I say she's my daughter, so I'm talking like she doesn't, we're not in any relationship, but I'm very proud. She's a certified chef. And anyway. And also a beautiful black doll from Afro Toys is our second prize. And our third prize is a book, You Can Heal Your Life, by Louise Hay. Now that book, for me, I say it so loosely, so like just mention the title like it's nothing, but that book has helped me in many, many ways. Like I read that book over 20 years ago, and I've been sharing that book with so many people, and every person I've shared that book with, they've had so much positive things and are so grateful for being introduced to such a book. Not grateful to me in that respect, but just grateful to have that book introduced into their lives. So that's one of the reasons why we put that book in our giveaway. So without further ado,
we're going to introduce our first guests, who are Verona and Dalian from Ancestral Voices.
Greetings. We didn't hear you because you were on mute for a second. Greetings.
Sorry. Okay.
Hi. Thank you for having us on.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you for accepting our invitation.
For those who don't know, I don't know who Ancestral Voices are, to be honest, but can you give a little bit about yourself and let people know who you are and what you
do? All right. So Ancestral Voices is an educational initiative run by myself and Dalian, which is aimed at providing education in regards to African spiritual philosophies and practices. This work was set up because we found that information around this topic is very limited, and if you do come across it, it's normally presented with a negative or colonial perspective. So we've decided to go and document and research this knowledge for ourselves and present it in various different forms. So we have documentaries, courses, films, and books that all explore this topic.
Thank you so much.
Great, and we're going to introduce our next set of guests, who are Luke and Ramona from Temple Way.
Hey guys.
Hi.
How you doing?
We're doing good, thank you. Yourselves?
Good to see you guys.
We're doing good, yeah. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too.
I'll say it's quite strange, like it's New Year. I don't know. I think for me personally, this whole season, for the last 4 years, has been a bit of a strange one for personal reasons, but also as well, it's like, I think as we get older, it's like looking forward to your birthday. You don't feel no different. When you was a child, you look forward to it. Yeah. I don't know, maybe it's probably not a good thing to say on New Year's Day, but it's a reality, So yeah, but Happy New Year anyway, regardless.
Thank you.
Can you introduce yourselves and let people know who you are and what you do?
Yeah, no worries. So Ramona and I, we lead a small church community called Temple Way. And we're really trying to create community above kind of everything. And We use a platform to kind of get people to share their stories, to appreciate the bigger story that they're part of, and really just to connect with one another in more real ways. So we're a church, not in the traditional sense though, and I'm excited to be on the call with Ancestral Voices, because I think the part of the journey we're at the moment is kind of understanding a little bit more of this stream that we've been swimming in. And really, as we are predominantly a Black community, there's definitely a need for us to become more aware of just a lot of things. And this year has been kind of pivotal in kind of directing us that way. So we're an evolving, growing community, and open to where it takes us, and inviting people to come along with us on that journey.
Great, thanks
That's
so
amazing.
much. Okay, as we didn't get to say what today's topic was, which we normally do, and it's Imani, which is the last principle of Kwanzaa. Now we don't necessarily celebrate Kwanzaa. That's really naughty for many people for us to say that, but I think it's the principles has always stuck out to us.
Yeah.
Concept of it, but we haven't, because we didn't really celebrate Christmas as such. It kind of felt weird to kind of replace it with something else, and we don't really, But we thought, for the sake of 2020, and the sake of the principles having so much importance and relevance for us as a community, for us as a people, but obviously definitely for us as a community, we thought we would end 2020 with some wisdoms and knowledge with guests like yourself. So so today is Imani, which means faith. Hence why we brought you four lovely selves together in this conversation, not in a way to have a debate between spirituality and religion, but more so to kind of attempt to marry the two perspectives in its similarities, but also respect and appreciate the differences, So I was going to ask for yourselves, Varun and Dalian, like, what does having faith mean to you?
Well, having faith is it's about a sense of purpose, isn't it? Having faith is having the conviction that you're in a sense guided, and you're directed in everything that you do towards a purpose. Because in African spirituality, one of the key fundamental ideas is that everybody is born with a purpose to achieve. And that purpose is not just for, in a sense, your own achievement and your own gratification, but then that purpose has to also have benefits for the community that you find yourself in. This is why we have such a high regard for ancestors. So for instance, I'll give you an example. In the Asian Kemetic traditions, there's a figure we call Osa. Most people know him as Osiris. And Osiris is revered as not even just an ancestor, but like a deified ancestor, because this is the person who is attributed to teaching the community about how to cultivate wheat. So what he did helped that community sustain itself. So this is what the core of, if we want to call it faith within African tradition, this is where it will sit, is this idea of having an unshakable sense of being on a journey to fulfill a purpose. So that's where faith sits in African philosophy.
Thank you so much. I'm just so excited. You guys are phenomenal. And to yourselves, Luke and Ramona, I guess there are aspects of, not aspects, it is the principles of having unshakable faith. As Dalian had mentioned, how do you help people, or I don't know if you can help people, but I can imagine you have people that have had their faith be tested. Do you see what I mean? And come to you for guidance. How do you support and guide people through that process?
I think one of the important things that we try and do is firstly just give people the space to appreciate and accept that they are on a journey. And I think especially in pastoral work, people have a tendency to really doubt themselves, to hate themselves, or to really think that they're not worthy or they're not valuable in some way. And I think one of the key things we can do is actually walk with them and say, no, you do have value. Here's why we believe you have value. We believe you've been created intentionally. And so because of that, your value kind of starts from there. And so I think for me, just being able to walk with people, not saying I have, being very clear that I don't have all the answers, and I can only share from, you know, where I am in my journey, but just really kind of encouraging people to be okay with where they are, and accept that, as I say, that this is all a journey really that we're on, and we're here to help one another through that journey. So I think, yeah, that is one of the key ways, because a lot of people really think that they're worthless. You'd be surprised how many people really believe that about themselves.
And just to add, I think like traditional religion does kind of encourage us to believe that we're worthless, you know, and that we just should be so indebted for even being. And I think we kind of more embrace just how loved we are, how honored we are, how royal we are, that we are chosen, that, you know, it isn't about just being scum that do wrong all the time. It's, you know, it's not, that is not how we choose to relay our faith. That's not what we believe in, that this notion that we are just useless and worthless and just should be thought of as nothing, but actually the complete opposite, that we are royal, we're royalty, and we are, as a result, we are loved and we are treasured, and we are therefore should hold our heads up and think highly of ourselves. And I'm talking about the journey as well. Luke's always been very much a rock, and I am the kind of, my journey can go very backwards and very forwards, and I'm very honest about that it's not, you know, the pastor's wife, as they would like to think, you know, that you should then, you know, you're two solid rocks and you kind of follow. And it's not been like that for me. And I've just really appreciated being a part of a community that can be free to say, I am struggling. I'm not, my faith is weak today. It's not today, this month, this year, I am struggling. And yeah, I just value a space where we are able to just be that honest and say, it's not always strong, and you know, it's sometimes perfect. Yeah, it's not always perfect. It's a journey.
Thank you so much for that. Did you want to...
No, thank you for sharing that, because that is a real honest statement, because obviously in this age of social media, everyone always puts their best foot forward, and you never really hear of the trials and tribulations and what people, individuals or families are going through. And because of that, people are less likely to come forward and seek help. So creating that safe space where one can go to and open up, because you've been in that position and you've shown that you can be vulnerable, is an amazing thing.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, and especially with regards to now, how this year, it's not this year. Gosh, because last year was just so mad, and as you guys were saying, like, obviously, and I'm sure Verona and Dalian have seen that as well, is that as in general, especially us as a people, we're very reluctant to speak on our stuff. And having a year like 2020, imagine the amount of people that couldn't even more speak on their stuff. Do you know what I mean? Because of the isolation, the separation, the division, and all of the trauma that happened. What was that like for yourself and the people you support and assist? And how did you go about helping people navigate around that? Whoever wants to answer that question, I'm open to both of yourselves. Go on, Verona. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay. For me, I must say, when this all started to kick off last year, March, it was a shock to the system for everybody. And for me, going back to your original question about faith, this is where my faith was also tested. Because you either give in to the panic and the fear of the scenario, that whole feeling of uncertainty, or within your mental state, you choose to believe that there's something more, there's something greater to what's happening. And so for me, I was able to find peace in the teachings that I've come across doing this research for Ancestral Voices. So I'm not sure if anyone listening today is familiar with the 7 Hermetic principles of Tahuti, aka Thoth, which speaks about the law of mentalism, correspondence. There's a whole bunch of them. But the law of mentalism addresses how your mind, how you think, your thoughts are very crucial to your reality and how you experience reality. The law of correspondence talks about as above, so below, as within, as without. So if we're even fearful and worried internally, that will manifest in our external reality. So I was able to pull upon these teachings and use that, and I made videos about it. I put it out there because I was like, this is what I'm using, and maybe this can be of benefit to others as well. And I found that once you start to, I guess, disconnect from the external and more focus on what's going on internally, what within your own self can you do to help this situation, or how can the situation, what am I learning? So for example, I was able to enjoy spending more time with my family once I stopped worrying about everything else. Once it's out of your control, there's nothing you can do anyway. Yeah. So then it's time to change perspective and use that time. For me anyway, it was a time of reflection, a time of learning about myself, learning about my strengths, my weaknesses, and also just embracing those who are around me.
Thank you. Ramona, you want to share something?
Well, we were able to, as a community, to just start to look at everything that had happened and address it together and work through it together. Allow people to just speak openly about their fears and their panics and their stresses. And it wasn't just Corona, it was everything happening with the Black Lives Matter movement. It was creating space and conversation around that, encouraging people to be able to be vocal, and offering support. We spoke to friends from other churches who that whole subject didn't come up, despite the fact that it seemed to be consuming our lives. It was like it didn't come up, and you're just like, how could it not come up? We're a Black community. How did they not raise what's going on in that setting? And many didn't. And I think, we were just grateful to be able to raise it, to discuss it, to create open forum, to put out there opportunities for people to talk and discuss.
You guys are frozen for a second.
Verona, I'd just like to kind of touch on one of the points that you mentioned with regards to sometimes a lot of things are out of your control. So in order to kind of stand in your divineness, you've got to look at the things you can control and look within. And that was a very powerful kind of statement that I kind of drew back from what you said. And I think often it's overlooked because, again, we're in this time where when we can't physically meet up with people, we rely heavily on this digital platform. And to a certain degree, we have control over what content we can consume or what our focus is on.
What we tap into.
Yeah. So taking that opportunity to kind of do some soul searching and looking within is powerful.
Yeah. No, definitely. And just touching on what you mentioned and Dwayne about the soul searching, because that's a kind of nice word for me to add, be it extra, if you will. Because what this pandemic also has shown us is that a lot of people have been living externally to themselves, you know, but that's the nature of capitalism, you know, that the more you consume, the happier you are. You know, you can have 2 feet, but you can have 50 shoes. Which day you're going to wear all those 50 on the two? So if your happiness is put into something external to yourself, then you leave a shallowness within. So when you now don't have access to what you've been taught to believe will give you the happiness, then you start to go out of sorts. So for me, in this regard, it's a good challenge for people, you know. Despite all the kind of goriness of X amount of deaths and whatnot, this is also a chance for people now to really come into themselves and to find themselves, you know. And I think it gives us the opportunity to do so. As a, should we say, negative as it might look on the surface, there's always a positive that can be taken or harnessed from a situation, you know. But again, as you both correctly said, it's where you decide to focus on, you know.
Yeah, I think you know that exactly what you just said and what Verona was saying in terms of looking within. I think as much as we're able to do that because of what we fill ourselves up with. Do you see what I'm saying? And it didn't just happen because of 2020. There's a preparation of years, decades even, so that you know you might slip off that kind of platform, but it's always there to go back to.
Mm-hmm.
For those of us who have, you know, only stepped into the consciousness or the awareness of, I guess, the illusion or realities of what we're experiencing right now, what kind of advice, if you can, as it will, I don't like that word, but you know what I mean, could you give people who are, you know, a bit green to the tapping into self perspective?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Okay, cool. Oh, they're back.
I don't know what happened there. Sorry.
No,
It's technical difficulties or defaults or whatever else. So, but yeah, sorry, Verona, you were saying.
Yeah, so just to answer your question, for those who, first of all, I agree with everything you completely said. Those who are already on a spiritual path beforehand can definitely navigate through this situation a bit easier. Whereas those who are completely new, I would recommend one of the first things to start getting in touch with yourself is what I did for myself. So I'm going to go by what worked for me, is definitely to build a relationship with your own ancestry. And for many people, they may feel uncomfortable with that because it's a completely new concept. However, what I would say is that your ancestors are you. They literally are a part of your genetic makeup. So this is not something that should fear you. So if you had a grandparent or someone you were really close with in life, and you know they loved you in this reality, there's no reason to be scared of them. You can literally just call upon your grandmother and ask her to help you, guide you, and navigate you through this time. You can do this by simply lighting a candle or any way you would approach any form of prayer, whatever you choose, whatever is comfortable to you. But by developing a relationship with your own ancestors, what you do is you allow yourself to connect with that higher and the multiple aspects of yourself. And by doing so, it allows you to become more aware than just this physical reality. And you leave yourself open to the potential to be guided from something much higher than this physical. And right now, as Dalia mentioned before, being stuck in the physical with all this materialistic stuff is not working. We definitely need something higher to help us through this time. And by connecting with your own ancestors, that is a fundamental thing that any of us can do. It's a prime principle of African spiritual philosophies. And it definitely will help to ground you and to connect with those deeper aspects of yourself.
And of course, those are things that can be practiced regardless of your religion.
Exactly.
I'm just going to jot that one in there. So
Yeah, no, well done.
it's really it's bizarre to, I say it's bizarre very, I don't know, loosely, because essentially religion and spirituality are kind of one and the same to me. You know, I understand the differences, but there's so much division between us when we're all really, I mean, people who are right and true within themselves, regardless of their beliefs, are on the same page.
Mhm.
And it's just quite frustrating to know that there's so many of us divided, but when if we just was able to come together on just the blackness alone,
Yeah.
right? and the adversities alone, and the positivities that the things that we contribute alone, then the divisions and the differences really mean nothing.
Agreed. And I just add to my point as well, because I didn't stress that once you do that process, you will start to receive guidance. And that guidance can take place in the form of dreams, synchronicities that appear in your life. You may overhear a conversation that is extremely relevant to what you're going through, that tells you what you need to do. So this is the way that spirit can communicate with you in all these various forms. So it's something that I can talk to you about it all day, but it's something that you will experience. It's not something I have to convince you of, because once it happens, and intuitively you will know that this is what's going on in your life.
Thanks for stating that, because I think as well, some people get these dreams and it might not necessarily be, they might not be able to tell the difference. Like, is this a good thing or is this a bad thing? And yeah, as you said, you will know, and you do know. Ramona, you were saying something before you cut out. Was you able to? Okay.
I don't know when I cut out. At what point? So
Just start from the beginning.
what was that? What was that? Oh, I was talking about our community, and that we took, because we control the narrative, and we took the opportunity to address 2020 in all its glory, and the issues and the topics that came up. We just threw it back to the community. Let's discuss it. Let's have an open discussion. Let's talk about it. We are here to find hope together, to sort of to grow together, as opposed to it being a space where this is off topic, and this is something that we don't talk about and we kind of whisper about behind closed doors. It became part of our offering. It was part of what we had to give, is let's do this. Let's talk about this.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Do you think you can
Summary.
start to speak on your perception as to why people perhaps are less likely to speak on things such as Black Lives Matter and the impact?
So one of the main things, so growing up, I guess, religious, what I found is that a lot of the things that are to do with, even though I grew up in a predominantly Black church, things of our culture were seen as lesser, and it wasn't done intentionally, but it was done. So things like, certain, even to the levels of certain instruments or syncopation, as in drumming, and certain things were seen as bad. And as I grew older, I realized that how comes everything that seems bad are things from my culture, right? This is even in a predominantly Black church. So and these are what I felt, and this is what I, growing up, and in the Christian faith, is almost like there's this idea that there is a Christian way that's not about being black, white, or anything. It's just a Christian way. But the reality, but when you look into it, the Christian way seems to line up quite well with the Caucasian way, right? There seems to be a lot of the European way. So that is why. So then when these things come up, those Black individuals who've grown up in the church wouldn't even necessarily know how to really process it, because those things we're not meant to think about or talk about our Blackness. Not that it was said, but it was implied. It's implicit. And so that's why for many places it wasn't. So what's so interesting is that when you have like the Archbishop of Canterbury coming out and apologizing for the racist past, whether it's however you want to take it, just that happening, that kind of recognition from that level, it was interesting. I think that opened the door for some people to then realize, oh gosh, they're not making this up. Do you know what I mean? So basically I think that the tradition itself, whether intentionally or unbeknownst to many, it doesn't give us a sense of identity and appreciation of our culture. It almost is trying to draw us to a different type of reality, which actually, that if we're honest, it's a more European, white, reality.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what? Thank you for challenging those almost normalized perceptions around church as well. And thank you for even coming onto our platform and having the conversation and being so open with it, because people don't realize or don't understand or are just are so in fear of speaking their truth and their experiences. And in essence, for your community and people that follow you on social media, you're creating that safe space for modern day topics of what's going on, and to practice faith together in one space. Whereas quite often, I'm presuming with people that have had those concerns that go to other churches, regardless whether the congregation represents you or not, they're having to juggle those two different things in two different spaces.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. And I do also, I think that as well, one of the interesting things about myself and Ramona and as leaders, I'm not trying to make anyone the best Christian they can be. I'm not concerned with that, because any religion, the whole point of a religion for me is not to be the best Adventist, is not to be the best whatever, in my opinion. For me, religion is a vehicle, simply a vehicle. The Bible is a vehicle. These things are vehicles to bring you hopefully closer and in touch with the divine. That's my thing. So that's why I come at it a bit differently, because I'm not trying to make you a Christian. I have no concern with making anyone Christian. I really don't mind. My whole goal is, how can we use what we've learned and what we're reading? Is there some keys in here that can help us to connect to the divine? That's all. That's it. And so it just so happens that my journey is Christianity. Someone else's journey might be Muslim. Someone else's journey is more in touch with the African roots, whatever it is. But the key is, we're trying to do the same thing. We're trying to help people to connect with the divine, and that is what we're trying to do the best as we can.
Yeah, definitely. It's about speaking to and aligning yourself with what resonates with you. So long, but the journey, the destination, if there is a finite destination, is somewhat the same. We are all parents, and we have fairly young-ish children. This year must have been mind-blowing for them. And given your personal interests and backgrounds and knowledge, how did you get your children through this kind of time? Like, if you don't mind sharing how old your children are as well. And that is, again, to both of you. I really got to stop doing that. I really am interested to hear what you both have to say, both parties have to say.
Yeah. For us, our children, we have two boys, 9 and 5. This year, to be honest, it hasn't fazed them much at all, because we've been homeschooling our children from they were born. My background is in education. I'm a qualified, trained teacher. I've been teaching for over 15 years. So we have a particular, should we say, schedule that we've always done. We're not in the mainstream, so we have our home learning spaces where we go into and meet other children, such as we've met yourselves and your children there as well, Debbie and Dwayne. So for us, it's been more what is actually allowed us to do, because I have that kind of qualified background. When you're trained as a teacher, you're trained, especially in the UK, a certain way to deliver, if you want to call it a block of knowledge, you understand? And you're under pressure to deliver that block of knowledge within a certain space of time, to meet, certain report writing. It actually doesn't do much for what the child has actually learned. So if you look at the way they teach children in China, they won't leave a topic unless the child can demonstrate that they've understood it. Not that they can, give you a few answers, but they can articulate it and show that they know it intimately, But here in the UK, it's more, okay, let's just cover it and meet this curricula, this set of tick boxes. So for me, what the whole pandemic allowed us to do was to ask the question of what was the rush? We don't need to have any rush. Even the exams have been cancelled. This has been done, that has been done. So it just, where were we rushing to? You know, we can take more time. So it allowed us to put more play in and just more rest periods in what we do. You know, so for me, I think it's been very beneficial. It's also allowed us to do more building stuff, you know, give them life skills, because it's the life skills that will take you somewhere. It's all good that you can code, but what if the whole network doesn't work anymore? Because, you know, this can happen. Yeah. Can you build yourself a house to live in? No, you can't, because those skills are not there. So we started looking at more practical uses of the knowledge, and the corona allowed us to do that because we just had the time. So that's nothing much has changed, apart from the fact that they don't see their friends as often as they could. You know, before we had 2-3 days, now it's just the one day, and that's also based on the tier system. So yeah, that's how it's shaped our experience so far.
Thank you. And Ramona and Luke?
So our children are 6, 4, and 2. We've got 3 children. And
girl, boy.
Yes.
Girl oldest, then 2 boys.
And we home educate them. So I would like to say that there wasn't a big difference, but we are out of the house a lot. So the change for us was then being indoors,
especially during the first lockdown.
Yeah, being indoors, and we are blessed that we have a large space, and we don't live in London. We've got quite nice, lovely green spaces that were within walking distance. So we spent a lot of time outdoors. How did the children cope with it? I would say was very difficult, because we had personal experience with corona. We had family that were hospitalized. That definitely, going back to the concept of the whole idea of faith, put incredible strain on our eldest daughter. She became very anxious. She prayed a lot. It was amazing to watch this young girl just praying just constantly, you know, for her family. And
also physically it took a toll on her as well, because she got chicken pox, which like literally people say it's normal, but
but in this time it's a little bit,
like, especially because we
were locked down.
We were locked down, so she wasn't mixing with anyone. So we definitely think that was part of the stress. She got a little bit of a what was it, like a stammer? Not stammer, more like a tick.
A tick.
She picked up like a bit of a tick that we linked to, again, it was anxiety. And we're just so grateful, like, praise God that now she's come through both of those things. But it was definitely, we could see with her that she took on these things physically. She really is more, and it's not as kind of worrying as it was at the time, or at least concerning. I also like to think that this is a real indication of who she is. She feels things. She's I don't know if they call them an empath or whatever they call them, but she's someone who is connected to other people's pain, suffering. And as long as we can help her to learn how to channel that, so it doesn't become overwhelming, I think it's been good to see, okay, this is how my eldest is wired. You know, this is definitely how she's wired. So the younger 2, I mean, for them, I don't even know if they noticed anything. They're just 2 boys running around as normal, but she definitely felt it. She definitely felt it.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. That I think for those of us who, because most people know we home educate you. That's how we know each other, actually. But it's been the same for us in the respect that our children have already been prepared for this to some extent. Very much, a lot of their curriculum has been based on not necessarily the mainstream curriculum, but on what their personal interests are and how we can go about developing that into something they can, I guess, survive off or live off, or, you know, just enjoy whilst experiencing this place, I suppose. But I think it has taken its toll on for children who do go to school, though, because they're so used to being around, say, 30 people in a classroom setting, or so many people in a playground setting, which I really kind of feel it for them, you know. And yeah, so just being mindful of that. But it's great that you guys as families have been able to pull through, even through the adversity. That's something that always kind of concerns me, how children would react to if they've had any losses as a result of corona. But it's a blessing that your daughters were able to pull through that.
Luke and Ramona, again, it's testament to us as parents and our responsibility as well in terms of recognizing and seeing these things happening and how to address it and how we communicate with one another as parents to come up with solutions to these situations that our children might be going through. And it just shows, it demonstrates how important it is to have a relationship and know your children and be able to analyze as much as it might have been clearly blatantly obvious that obviously we're going through challenging times, it's corona and what have you, but this could play out in another scenario where the thing per se isn't so obvious. So being able to analyze what is changed around our children and how it can be affecting them, and kind of coming up with solutions or addressing it as you see fit.
Yeah, because I think a lot of parents as well. Some parents might find that challenging to do because they're so focused on other things like losing their job or keeping their home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But even with that, we still have to try and be mindful
and grounded for our children.
Yeah, and in tune with them and their growth through the situation. So, did you want to continue?
No. Good.
So, why do you think it's necessary or important for the Black community to practice or have faith? I mean, I see faith not necessarily just as a religious thing, but perhaps as a thing to have faith in self, have faith in our families, have faith in our community. So why is that important for us as a community? I think Dalian or Verona, please.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, well, I like what you said there about the way you, in a sense, gave further context to the word faith, because I think often when people hear the word faith, they automatically just put it in the religious space, because that is even one of the ways of this is a synonym for the word religion, you know, either your religion or your faith or your spiritual system that you follow. But it's beyond that. Faith we can even associate with what we call your willpower. Yeah, your ability to hold space and decide to, in a sense, define that space. Yeah, your faith is, again, as I said, that unshakable or convincing state of mind that decides that it will accept nothing less. Yeah? So faith can give you purpose, it can give you strength, it can give you courage, and this is what we need in these times, because as Verona was already talking earlier about how she used the law of mentalism. If you're kind of a bit fuzzy-wuzzy up in your head, then in a sense anything goes. You also open yourself to if you want to call it emotionality, and it's not like being emotional is necessarily a bad thing, but not being able to control that state of emotion can be, because it can lead you into feelings and state of being that are not beneficial to you. So having faith is very key, because it's what can give you the attitude to know that, you know what, I can see this through. I am capable of seeing it through. You know, so in us being able to expand our understanding of faith to understand that it's not even just a religious or spiritual notion, it even has a social function, which is, as I said, to be able to give you the ability or the sense of ability to say, you know what, regardless of what's happening, there's the possibility for overcoming and that particular situation. So yeah, that's why I would say we need faith.
And just to add to what Dalian's saying, I'd say that because you said specifically as Black people why it's beneficial for us to have faith, and I think for us, when we live in a society that has already termed us as the underdogs, where we see a lot of negative portrayals of ourselves in the media and so forth, to have faith and sort of a grounding within yourself to know that you're far greater than anything that is projected and shown at you is, as far as I'm concerned, it's a necessity. You need to have that. Otherwise, as Dalia mentioned, you will fall for all these negative things and they will draw on your emotions and bring you down. And so for us to have faith and to hold ourselves to a higher standard to what is around us is very beneficial for our own mental state and well-being.
And yourselves, Ramona and Luke, the same sort of question: like, how can, why is it necessary for us to have faith in ourselves, in our community as Black people?
Yeah, I think great points there by Dalian and Verona. I think that what we think, as far as I can see, what we think is sometimes even more important than what is true. What we think and what we believe about ourselves, about others, that will play out into our actions. And so if you have never thought about, okay, what do I think about my community? What do I think about our role in this world? What do I think about purpose? What do I think about my neighbor? What do I think about, things are running out in the shop? Like, do I think it's important to get everything for myself? Do I think others are important? Like, how do I, this is what, again, the challenges that we've faced over the last few months has forced us to really think about, what do I really believe about everything? and that has, even if we haven't wanted to say it, our actions have betrayed exactly what we think about these things, right? If I see you hoarding and grabbing everything, you're saying that you believe that what your sustenance, your life system, your support system is based on you being able to get things from the shop, and actually you believe in survival of the fittest. Then if you're running just to support yourself, you believe in self in a different way. And so for me, just being able to think about, about the very core of things, like about humanity, about my community, like, do I believe in our ability to rise above? Do I believe in our ability? Do I believe that we are the head and not the tail? Do I believe that we have something to offer? Or do I believe all these other narratives and what they're trying to tell us about ourselves? I think it's so important. So I've enjoyed, Kwanzaa wasn't something that I was familiar with before kind of this year. And becoming familiar with it and seeing the principles, I love the principles because it's just so, if we can just, as Black people, really embrace these, I mean, it's transformational. I really do believe it's transformational. And I think that's been, so I see the need to even for it to exist, because as I said, these are not things that would have been taught to me, growing up in church as being essential for our community. But really, even when you deep it in the Bible itself, right? The Bible is a bunch of story, it's a narratives that are rolling out. And even in those narratives, you see the importance of community. And I know we might not see ourselves sometimes in those communities that are demonstrated, but even if we just take the principles of what it took to sustain communities, that's what we've lost touch of, I think. And so when I think of faith, as everyone's saying, I think of it in just this renewed sense of getting in touch with just us as a community being able just to do anything, just to be anything, just to achieve anything. If we work together, we have everything we need amongst ourselves. That doesn't mean we're going to hoard it amongst ourselves, but we need to help ourselves first, because we are starting, everyone's on lap 5 and we're on lap 1. So we need these principles to kind of help us up. And I have that faith that I believe we can. I literally believe we can. And it's just amazing, I think, what I've seen in our community, and even in myself and my appreciation of my community over this year. For me, it's been like, I know I'm behind. I'm catching up, though. I'm catching up. I'm catching up, guys. And it's these type of conversations, what you're having on Black British Parent, Ancestral Voices. It's you guys I want to listen to, because I already know what I know. I need to know what I don't know. And that's why I need to talk to people that I've never spoken to before.
Yeah.
Thank you, Luke.
Yeah, just to even add to Luke's point, I think we underestimate the value of a principle, and this is what we've been talking about. You act because this is something that you think and believe. You understand? Before you take a left turn, is because that left is leading you somewhere that you've already, in a sense, thought of. You understand? So the principles of Kwanzaa, totally. I totally support that too. And we need to start working at that level. You understand? Because like I was saying when you guys slightly went off, that you can even look at capitalism and its effect. And you actually even just mentioned it, that state of hoarding. Because that is essentially what capitalism is about. It's not just taking what you need, it's about also taking what you want and then even hoarding more for excess. Because we've been trained under this, and this is a social kind of conditioning philosophy.
Absolutely.
But we live it out. So I absolutely agree. I think if more people look more at the principles, just forget, we know it'll take a lot longer for us to get beyond that cultural barrier, because this thing was instigated and it still continues.
Absolutely.
100 years in. Do you understand? So if we can look at the principles and say, you know what, how can I just do, let's say, one thing today, cooperative economics.
Yes.
How can I just buy something from a black business?
Yeah.
Those small little things make the biggest change.
Yeah.
You don't all have to be, should we say, accomplished Malcolm X or Martin Luther King and all of that. Just make your own small change. That's how you make a change, you know. But again, people, I don't think we've really got this core principle. The little things matter. That's a big change, you know.
Love it, love it.
Well said.
And this is it. It's having these conversations. That's what we're really trying to do. And well, we're not trying to. We're doing it. And
Yeah, definitely.
guys being here and doing it with us. So how can we? Before we round off, we've got 2 more questions. How can we be more proactive in having faith in ourselves? I think Veroni kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but I'm not sure if Tempo, Luke, and Ramona have. And be more proactive, and also like have a more positive impact in encouraging future generations to incorporate that into their sense of being.
All right, so I know I mentioned it earlier. I'm going to just stress on it a little bit more. One of the things about faith is to start to know yourself, because once you start to know yourself, then you can develop that faith in yourself. If you have no basis or foundation to work from, where is your source of faith coming from? So I think that's a really important point for us to address. Now, going back to what I mentioned earlier about as Black people, we're portrayed in a particular light in society, it's really important, especially now we're going through this point of transformation, that we change that narrative, and it begins within ourselves. What do you actually believe about yourself? What do you think about yourself? What do you know about yourself? When you wake up in the morning, what type of thoughts go through your mind? Do you think in a positive mindset? Do you have a negative mindset? This is the level of self-analyzation we need to be doing to ourselves daily, because we need to be in control of who we are, and to make sure that we are not being programmed by an external source, but we're more aware of what is going on internally. So this is why I made the point of before about this, not the self-reflection, ancestral reverence. All of these things will give you a foundation to work from, which enables you to now navigate life with your own mentality rather than what is being projected onto you. And I think that is a foundational core point if we're dealing about faith, is that you're working from the principle of who you are. And by doing so and working on yourself, then you are of benefit to your wider community also.
Thank you. And yourself, Luke and Ramona.
There's literally nothing to add. She's completely correct. If you can just start from that place of like, what do I truly think about myself? Like, and who put that there? That's the big one. Who put that there? Because if it doesn't even matter if it was your own parents, if you don't believe, because not everyone had good parents, you know. Some of the worst things we think about ourselves have been put there from our parents. So why do you think that about yourself? Who told you that? They're liars. It's not true. And that's why I think for me, I absolutely 1,000,000% co-sign Verona's statement. That's it. That's like, we need to start there. I can't add anything more to that.
Yeah, no. I wanted to add to what you're saying, Luke, as well, and that thing of getting it from our parents, and it's also understanding, not making excuses for that they got it from somewhere else too. Any better? And that's not to say ignorance or anything like that, but the conditioning and the illusion has been strong and real for a very long time.
Absolutely. But even just adding on quickly before you go. Sorry, Ramona, do you wanna?
No, you started. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. No, because and Verona's talking about the knowledge of self. You know, Luke exemplified it in itself when he said he started looking in his own church space and noticing that certain, you know, rhythms were being taken out. Yeah. If you watch our first film, there's a Catholic priest in there, and he the same thing happened to him. The Catholic Church excommunicated him because he wanted to bring African drums into the church space. Yeah, and they said no, absolutely not. But then you see, when we dig deeper into African spirituality and we realize it for the science that it is, we start to realize the importance of sound and how sound and certain vibrations can change your behavior. We are very familiar with it because we're familiar with how hip hop has been transformed a certain way, and we've seen the behavior in the children. So, in a sense, the European establishment understands this very well. So this is why some of these things are the way they are. So Luke has exemplified the point in exactly what B is saying, that you need to know self. You need to be able to look around you and say, why is this way? We need to question more.
Yeah.
Questioning is the beginning of understanding.
Absolutely.
You understand? We should stop taking things for granted and look and ask ourselves, why is this the way it is? And most importantly, what do I have that I can use to help change that? You know, and this is our challenge for the now.
Absolutely.
Ramona, you was gonna.
I was going to add just our role and our responsibility, therefore, as parents, to the next generation, to make sure that we are also building up their picture and their narrative of self, so that it's strong and it's beautiful and it's bold and it's courageous and it's empowering. You know, we have that responsibility as our parents had it, and may have struggled with it because of the narrative that they had, and their parents before them and their parents before them. You know, we know our history and how strained it was as a, you know, that meant that they were stuck with these incorrect, unhealthy narratives. And so we have to just be conscious all the time of what narrative we are therefore putting towards the next generation, so that they can just be the powerful beings that they were created to be, you know, and that's our role as Black parents, Black British parents even, to do that.
Agreed.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm going to quickly jump in with our giveaway reminder, and then we'll ask you the last question before we round up. So we've got a giveaway over the period of 7 days, and it's basically we've got 3 prizes. I think the first one is 2 free online children's cooking lessons for 8+ kind of age group. From the lovely Tasteful Munch, she's sitting right there beside me right now, smiling. And the second prize is our a beautiful black doll from Afro Toys. We had her earlier in the week speaking with us. And the third prize is a book, You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. So for you guys to enter, just follow the Black British Parent account, find the post with the giveaway post on it, and like that post, tag 3 friends in the comments, and also take a screenshot of you watching one of the last 7, well, today included, live streams, and send it to us by DM to be entered into the competition. Guys, thank you so much for joining us, and everyone else, thank you for listening. What I wanted to ask you both, well, I say both, there's like 4 of them there, but what's your message to Black British parents? I know you kind of dropped so many gems and messages, but just, you know, a specific message before leaving.
Wow. Okay, so I'm just going to go first and just say, yeah, it's a new year. What happened last year is not going anywhere anytime soon. We're still in that process of change and transformation, and transformation at first has to happen within self. So I feel that this is time for us to let go of all things that no longer serve us, any mental states that are negative, any habits, behaviors that we've carried forward. As we mentioned before, whether it's stuff from parents or beyond, it's time to let that go and allow a new cycle to begin. And so it's time for that self-reflection. What do you want to bring into your own personal life? Forget what's happening on the TV. What do you want to happen in your life? What are you actively doing to make that change? What are you doing for your family to enable for this to become your reality? What are you teaching your children? Are you teaching your children to think in a sense of lack or limitation, or are you uplifting their spirit? And I think as Black British parents, it is really down to us to carry on a new legacy, one that is one based on self-knowledge, pride, and upliftment, but most importantly, being practical and being able to manage communities that sustain us. But we can only do that once we begin by addressing what needs to be sorted within ourselves.
Thank you. Dalian, or is that?
Yeah, big message. For me, mine is more for what I'll call cooperative or collaborative work. Yeah, despite difference. Because one of the sad realities that we have as Black people, and this is not something that we have, this is something that has been programmed. We know it's been programmed, which is a big mistrust of ourselves. okay? And we try and perpetuate it even more by looking for difference, so we separate. Do you understand? So you have, you know, you might have some religious bods who say, oh, don't go near these traditionalists because, you know, there's demon worship or some hoo-ha, hoo-ha. And people don't make the effort to check if this is even true. Yes. So we need to understand, look, if we say we're of African descent, well, pretty much every human being is of African descent, if we want to stretch that point that far. However, this thing that we call melanin, this thing that gives us a particular shade in our skin, is any astrophysicist will tell you, this is the stuff we see in the sky that it looks like a black galaxy out there. So the same thing you see externally is in your makeup of your body. We need to use that as a core, essential, uniting principle. Do you understand? It's not our differences that matter. It's what we can work together. Because, you know, improving the black condition in the UK is not just beneficial to me, it's beneficial to you and your children. Do you understand? So we need to start looking at how things work in a, should we say, grand scheme of things, rather than individual preferences or proclivities, which might even be false. You know, today is the Independence Day of the country called Haiti. This is the only place where black people managed to organize themselves to overthrow those who were enslaving them. But you find some black people who say, oh yeah, but isn't that place that devil worshipping place? They forget the fact that they achieved what most oppressed people have never managed to achieve, which is throw off your oppressor. How can that be a bad thing? This is a good thing. And you do not let someone, George Floyd is telling us, get your knee off my neck. How can that be a bad thing? This is what these people managed to achieve. And they achieved it by letting go of their individual, if you want to call it tribalistic tendencies, colorism tendencies, because there was also a big community in Haiti that were mixed race and put there specifically to kind of dominate the darker skinned Africans. They let go of all of that in the pursuit of one unity, which is the common good. So this is the key message I'm going to tell every black British parent. And because even we noticed at some point where we'll be having issues, and we notice that, yeah, you know, this is how black people are. He owes me money. They're not paying us our money that are due. Then we realize, hold on, that our son is hearing that message. You think they're gonna internalize in that moment of frustration? Okay, absolutely. They haven't paid us, and we're upset. But what message now are we transferring? Because he's sitting there listening, saying, oh, hearing his parents say, oh yeah, well, you know, this is how some of our organizations are. You know, they take your money, they don't want to pay you. But you're sending the wrong kind of message. So for us, let's understand, we can be united even if we have specific needs. And let's look at the common good rather than our individual, what we think is truth. Because really and truly, we will never know truth. Truth is just part of what we live through in our lives. And truth at any point is relative. Your truth today can be the opposite tomorrow. So let's just aim for the common good. We need each other. And none of us are going anywhere unless we're helping each other. It's that simple. So those are my brief bits for all of us.
Actually, your 2 million cents, like.
Thank
I'm just sitting here just nodding. I wanted to say it, but I didn't want to say it.
Thanks.
Luke and Ramona, what message do you have for Black British parents?
I would say, well, what a wonderful time to be alive. You know, we have knowledge at the touch of a button. We have opportunity that we can embrace. We have, it's all there. We've got social media so that we can put our message out. Technology is allowing us to send our message out and to get information in. And I think it's just something that as parents, we need to just be mindful of what comes in and help to inform what goes out. And I think it's really important. We use our platform for positive and for good, and we love Black British Parent for that. We love the positivity. We love the celebration of our Blackness, of our culture. and we encourage, and that's what's important to us, is to encourage that for the next generation, to encourage using social media, using the platforms, using technology, not just as, you know, it's not all the devil. It's using it to our advantage. You know, I think I've consumed more audiobooks on our history and our culture in this 1 year than I have in the rest of my sort of education, because it's there. I can just, while I'm washing the dishes, I'm consuming, and I just think, yeah, let's do that. Let's put our children, put things in front of them. Let's give them opportunities. Let's use technology. Let's use our progress to our benefit. And yeah, that would be what I would say. Just garner what you can while we can. You know, the opportunities are there. Just go for it.
Yeah, just do, to all the Black British parents out there, just keep doing your best. Just keep doing your best. Like, we're rooting for you. We are rooting for you. We know it's not easy, and we know, just do your best. Just do your absolute best, and you know if you're doing your best. Listener listening right now, you know the truth. You know it's not for me to judge you or for us to sit here and judge you. You know if you're doing your best, and if you're doing your best, I take my hat off to you. And if you're not, let's help each other to raise the bar, and let's just really just continue to strive and to move forward as a community, because I believe, what's the saying? A high tide raises all ships, right? A high tide raises all ships. So let's be part of that tide that is rising, the aspirations, the ambitions, and the prospects for all of our community.
Man, thank you so much. This one has given me goosebumps. That sounds really biased, but this whole conversation, I've been getting hair standing up on my neck, back, and everything. Guys, thank you so much for taking the time out, especially on New Year's Day, you know, to and time away from your family to come and speak with us, and to our followers and listeners as well. We really appreciate your time, and we definitely want to have you back at some point to have a bit more in-depth conversations, you know.
Luke, Ramona, Verona, Dalian, thank you. This has personally been very, very enriching for me to have this conversation. So, yeah, thank you.
And thank you guys. Thank you guys. Keep doing what you're doing. I know this is what's interesting for you guys. This year is just another year of you doing what you've always done, right? And I just love that when you are true to your calling and your purpose, the moments come in time where you are just best positioned. And you guys, thank you so much for what you're doing. Thank you for following your calling, your purpose. We are all better off for interacting with even one piece of your content. So just keep it up. We're here to support you any way we can. And just keep up. And Ancestral Voices, while we're not familiar with what you're doing, I know that there is a community that is. So never stop doing what you're doing, because together we can do this. We're going to do this. So love to you all.
Thank you. And Debbie and Dwayne, thanks for the invite. It's been an honor. Fantastic. Lovely meeting you, Luke and Ramona. Ramona, your name sounds familiar. I don't know if you forget the homeschooling and kind of WhatsApp groups. Maybe the what was it? You know those sports days that we used to have once?
Crystal Palace.
But the name rings a bell. So it's lovely to meet you both, and I'm glad we can have this these types of conversations, especially where we don't have this kind of contentious. You know, everybody's trying to prove what they think is the best for everybody. We're all different like that. You know what I mean? Regardless of the label, we all start at one core. We're all spiritual beings, human. Let's use the one moniker that unites us, which is this melanin. Yeah, and let's do the best we can. So I hope I can look forward to more, collaborations, and let's make it better for ourselves.
Definitely. Fantastic.
Thank you so
much, Dwayne and Debbie. What you're doing is wonderful, and Luca, Ramona, has been lovely to speak with you guys too.
Thank you.
Beautiful energy on the show today, and fantastic work, and definitely keep it up.
Thank you so much, guys. We really appreciate that. And Happy New Year, everyone. To the rest of your afternoon. And have fun and just take it all in. Take the time.
Beautiful. Thank you too. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.